What's going on? What's going on, everybody? It is the Only Sports Podcast. I'm Will. That's Casino over there. This is the Only Sports Podcast. And we have it's a special day today, Casino.
No, it's
It
not.
is your birthday.
Ugh.
So how are we celebrating your 21st birthday? Can't believe it.
Strippers and blow. Yeah, strippers and blow, right? That's the Vegas way of what you're supposed to do, right?
Yeah.
No. 34, and I feel every year of it. So this is great. And all my years, I know I don't look like it now, but all my years of extreme sports, I'm gonna say extreme sports, but playing sports my whole life, and there was no breaks, like summer sports, winter sports, this and that. Oh man, has it caught up to me? Oh, it's caught up to me because I am beat to shit. So I just started to play indoor soccer again. Great.
Yeah,
I have my second. Yeah, I have my second game tonight actually, and I'm still sore from a week ago. So because I play goalie, so I'm constantly diving up and around this and that. I was like, yeah, this sucks. Why did I do it?
For your birthday, I just got you a sweet shaved face because you were like, I like when you're smooth. So here you go.
No, I told you what I wanted. I wanted Game Boy Color. Game Boy Color. That was discontinued over 20 years ago.
Yeah, I'll look for it. Also, speaking of age, I've just started drinking giant things of water.
Yeah.
Because I'm so dehydrated just all the time.
Dude, I don't drink an ounce of water when I'm at home. Like, this is apple juice real quick. But when I'm at work, since I work for a place that brews, we have our RO water, so a reverse osmosis system. So every time I'm there, I'm just drinking like pints and pints and pints and pints of water. I only drink water 4 days a week. That's it. And then I coast.
But now that's all out of the way.
Yeah,
exactly. Our sad, deteriorating bodies. But now that's out of the way, Casino, huge shout out to everybody who has been liking, commenting, subscribing to both here on YouTube and on TikTok, because both of those in the 2 years we've been doing this, I mean, TikTok we've only been doing for like a couple months, but YouTube, on what we've been doing it, we've never had this level of success, and it kind of feels like it's starting to like finally pay off for the consistency and doing all this. So appreciate it. Even if I even like the comments that disagree with us, because at least you're interacting.
That's the best though, because then people will start talking about them. We'll start talking about them. I want people to comment.
So appreciate it. If you're watching this video or one of the clips we put up in the next couple days, go ahead and subscribe, like, comment, whatever you want to do to us, and then follow I don't really post on Twitter except for during on Sundays, and then TikTok and YouTube are pretty much our two main ones, and then wherever you get your podcast. So
gotcha. And also, I apologize in advance for those who are watching the video. I'm wearing my hat sideways. This is not a normal look, but the lighting is just great, so I decided to keep it that way.
It looks fantastic.
Normally my hat covers my face, so it's just like shadow here, and that defeats the purpose. So
yeah, and my face, especially after I shave, you can just really see how just red and blotchy my face is. So to everybody watching, you're welcome. But to everybody watching, let's move on, Casino, to today's Tuesday Talking Points. And not only is today's Tuesday Talking Points going to be, and let's go the classic. Not only is today's Tuesday Talking Points not going to be about football or just not only the NFL, but shockingly, it's going to also be about our first topic today, baseball. And we have so number 5 on the Tuesday Talking Points is baseball, but we have 2 topics for baseball. The first being the Juan Soto, just right there, it says it, monster deal.
Biggest contract in history.
So he has agreed to a contract with the Mets that is $765 million for 15 years. That is that is crazy money.
Right. And there's incentives to where he can get up to $800 million. Like the contract tops out at $800 million if he hits all of his incentives.
Well,
Just
and the talking point of this game was that basically the
of this game
Mets
of this
or of this player,
contract. Yeah.
yeah, is that the Mets basically stole him away from the Yankees, and there's weird stuff coming out where, like, the Yankees were, what is it, not letting him get, like, a suite and a bunch of other weird things where he was like, "I want this, this, and this," and the Yankees were basically like, "No," and then the Mets came
It's
in and
it's
were like,
it's it's
"We'll
for
give you
somebody who
more
watches
money."
baseball, especially baseball that's over, I live here, but being a Red Sox fan, baseball over in the East Coast. Apparently, the Yankees were trying to offer him to stay for like about 735 or something like that, is what they were roughing it around. The Red Sox were in talks as well, but apparently they were capped out somewhere around 700, is what I heard. I'm so glad my Red Sox did not get this guy and get this contract. I'm not a big fan of Juan Soto. Is he a good player? He's decent, yeah, but decent. He's better than decent. He's a good player. Any franchise would be happy to have him, but not for this kind of money, especially for 15 years, dude. 15 years is insane to think about.
Well,
15
it's gonna
years,
be one of those
15
things
years is
where
two years shy of half my life, which is just blowing my mind that there's that kind of a contract out there. You know my take on long contracts. I think they're horrible. They're dumb. I just
yeah, he's coming off back-to-back seasons with the Padres, where he did 35 home runs. Then last year with the Yankees, he did 41 home runs. So he's that's the most home runs he's hit in any of his 7 years in the league. So this is definitely him at the peak of his powers, and he got rewarded for it. Now, like you, 7 years, or I'm sorry, 10 years, 15 years, any of those long term contracts, especially in major sports where you just see a guy, I mean, go from an all pro to falling off a cliff in 1 year and you really never even see it coming. I think it's insane, but also it's one of those things where we have to like look at it objectively and be like, they're not going to pay him over 15 years. This is going to be like a 10-year thing. And then when he's fallen off the last 5 years, they'll restructure it or he'll get traded or cut and there will be dead money and some of it's guaranteed, some of it isn't. So the thing that I
it,
always,
yeah, and it's not like a super friendly contract like Shohei Otani's, where he's only getting 2 million a year,
yeah.
for 10 years. It's just not going to help the team out much.
Well, this is also one of those things where in baseball, this is one of the things where it just makes people go like, this is why they need a salary cap. This is why, what is it? We need to regulate like how, because again, we're going to get the A's. I don't know why my camera's freaking out right now. We're going to get the A's in Las Vegas. And when we get them, there's no
I'm
way.
glad that it's your camera, by the way, because I thought I was just getting like, I turned 34 now. I just can't see. Everything's blurry.
There we go. But we're just gonna get the A's in Vegas in a couple years. There's no way the A's or what 25 other teams in Major League Baseball could even offer this kind of money with any kind of like, oh, now we can build a team around this guy. Now we can be a contender. Like it's just not going to happen. So then it becomes what kind of baseball has become over the past what decades and
Yeah.
really feels like it's ramping up to, which is, oh, the Dodgers, the Yankees, the Red Sox, the Mets, like all these teams in major markets are just going to take every player and there's going to be 4 or 5 teams that are just legit contenders every year and then kind of everybody else just trying to compete with them with a Moneyball-esque outlook on Major League Baseball, which is just like, no, we can't offer one player $800 million. And that's just the reality of baseball. I don't know. Thoughts on just what these kind of contracts mean for baseball, Casino?
Uh, it's, I mean, it's been like this forever. You can always do this. So it's not really going to change the field too much, but it's just the amount of money that these organizations, because that's what they are, they're not teams, these organizations want to spend. And, that's, there's the luxury tax and stuff like that. And it just blows my mind that teams will do this, and it does make it unfair. Um, but that's how baseball's always been.
Yeah.
That's how it's always been. That's how the Yankees have got so many titles. It's because they can buy the players. Red Sox, when they started winning as late 2000 teens, they were winning a lot of different. They were winning a lot, right? Because they were actually paying their players. Like when they stopped paying players and getting good players in, their team, the franchise went to shit. So it's all about money. It's always been about money. So that's why it's refreshing when you have random teams just playing well, getting hot, no name guys who get the big contracts eventually get up there. But that's why it's kind of tough to watch baseball live, because I know who's going to win. I called it exactly how it was going to be this year before the season even started. I said, oh, it was going to be it's a Dodger Yankees World Series. If it's not, call me out on it. And Dodgers are
Yeah.
going to win. And that's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
so easy to predict.
also, you could have predicted that before Ohtani went to the Dodgers. And then when Ohtani went to the Dodgers, it was like, oh, now we can just double down. Like, of course, now it's definitely going to happen instead of maybe happening before. But that is a great segue, Casino, to our second baseball topic, which is the introduction, or I guess the talks of an introduction for what is being called as the golden at bat rule. So for anyone who is unaware of what the golden at bat rule would be, it would be this. You would select one batter to take an extra plate appearance during a game, regardless of their position in the batting order. You can use this rule during crucial moments, such as the ninth inning. You can send your best hitter to the plate once per game, even if it's not their turn to hit. So it would allow teams to pinch hit any hitter at any time of the game, but each team can only use it once per game. So, thoughts on this potential rule change, Casino?
I hate it. I hate it. It's just another thing. It's just kind of like this whole NBA playoff like tournament thing that nobody's watching. Nobody cares is going
Well,
on.
nobody's watching the NBA regardless. Yeah.
Regardless, they're down like 30% in their damn viewership. And they're trying to do something for people to watch. And this is the same for baseball. They're trying to make it interesting. And all you're doing is ruining the game. It's gonna get into that realm of like the movie Basketball, where all of a sudden they're just gonna start making up rules on the fly just so they can make things entertaining. And it's just like it's not gonna be an old legitimate game anymore.
Yeah, I also think it kind of robs baseball of, what they always say, which is like the magic of baseball. I mean, if this, like, the way you can think about it is, do teams save this rule until it's, bases loaded in the fourth quarter, and then you don't get the Freddie Freeman moment that happened in the World Series where he hits a grand slam, and then you get all the great stories and the great, like, you know, publicity and news and headlines out of that, because every time you would be in that situation, it would just be like, oh, let's just take our star player who already is a star and known and isn't going to bring extra eyes to the sport. Like, let's use this to try to make a moment for him instead of just baseball, just having the moments almost be organic, if that makes sense to me. Like, I think the strat, or if that makes sense to you, Casino,
Yeah.
the best part about baseball is kind of the randomness of it, where it's like just based on the batting order. Like, if you're going into the ninth inning and you have if you have one out, you have two more outs, and then you kind of look at the next two guys up. It's the strategy and the fun of baseball is just like, who are those two going to be? Like, it just kind of, like, that's the randomness I think people like. Where now, if you can just kind of artificially make it so your best players are batting in the most opportune moments, I feel like it kind of ruins the magic of it.
Yeah, that's the whole thing. That's why you know how to set up a lineup. That's how you are. You have to be able to. It's chess. That's what baseball is. You set up your lineup. Be like, okay, this guy does well here. This guy does good when bases are loaded. This guy walks. If you could just plug in your best player every single time, then this is bullshit.
Well, and also this is the slippery slope where it's like, oh, it just starts as you can only use this once per game. Like only once per game. You're out of your mind if you don't think that it starts like that. And then it's like, well, now it's twice a game. Now it's three times a game. Now it's once per inning. Now it's, and then it just becomes like you can just make the batting order up as you go along and just have the same guy try three times in a row. Why not? Like that's the slippery slope argument, which is you change it once. And again, the issue I think for every sport right now, but the NFL, is that less people are watching most sports now than ever before. Right? Because you can easily not watch baseball. You can easily not watch NBA, not watch NHL, and still know everything that's going on in those sports. Like you could also do that with the NFL, but the NFL is the number one most popular sport right now, so everybody's watching it.
Yeah.
But with the other three major sports things or the other major sports franchises, you can just watch highlights. You can just look at the scores afterwards and just be like, oh, I just watched every good play in an NBA or an NHL game in a 3-minute clip video. Like I didn't have to sit there for 3 hours watching the games. And that's, again, we'll do a topic like this in the future, maybe next week, which is just why no one is watching the NBA is because the NBA is so easy to follow without watching it.
Yeah, it
Like
is.
you don't need to watch it to know every single thing going on in it. Same can be for NHL, same can be for Major League Baseball. So the getting the eyes on baseball, if that's the goal, I don't see how the golden at bat rule like accomplishes that without kind of mucking up the game to where it becomes,
Yeah, it's the
yeah,
game is supposed to be a strategy game. That's what that is. This hitter versus this pitcher. Who do you have in your lineup? For that game, who are you gonna like? They already have rules where you can do pinch hitters. You can do pinch runners. You can adjust. You can adjust. Like, okay, now I want this player to play this, like this position, which mixes up the lineup. Oh, I'm gonna pull a lefty out of the bullpen because the lefty pitcher is better against this player. Like statistically, like there's ways to do it. So to have this dumb, like it's so dumb to have that rule. I
yeah.
just can't. It's a
Well,
dumb
and
rule.
then it also, if the stars of baseball are already getting $750 million contracts, this now makes those stars more valuable. So now every one of those stars is going to be worth what, $1 billion? Because then it's like, well, now I'm not only the best player on the field, I can be the best player at the most crucial position because, again, we're taking all the strategy out of it and we're just building it to where wherever the most opportune moment happens, I can do it. And again, I would be fine with this rule if it was set in stone where like just once a game, that's it. But we know if this works and it brought, if by any metric you can think of this worked, they would 100% make it three times a game, five times a game, once per inning, and then all hell would break loose, right? And it would just be like, again, I don't know. When you look at baseball, I don't know how it being probably the third or fourth least popular major sport in the, I guess, United States, because I don't know about the world, but in the United States, I don't know how they're making enough money to, you know, give these players these kind of contracts because their TV deals over the past couple of years have gone down. The Apple what is it, subscription with Major League Baseball, I think was like a huge money loss for, I mean, when have you ever heard somebody be like, I watch Major League Baseball on Apple TV? Like I've never
Yeah,
heard a person say that. So
same.
I don't know how the MLB is making the kind of money it does just, to offer these kind of contracts. So I get changing it, but like
It's
change
all
shit
merch, man, and it's all merch and all these
and all
like
live games,
yeah, like
like
all these
stadium games.
organizations, they own other things. Like the Red Sox, for instance, they had their owner that he owned like the Boston Globe, he owned Liverpool, like
Yeah, yeah.
like all these things. Like it's just old time money that they already have, and so it just means nothing to them. You know?
Yeah. Anything else to say on that,
Nah.
Casino? Or can we move on? Now let's move from baseball to football. And before we get to the NFL, we have to talk about the college football
Oh, can we
bracket.
can we just all do it together? I mean, let's just exhale all at the same time.
Ooh, no
No Alabama.
Alabama. No Alabama. Let's look at this right here.
Gosh,
This
I'm so happy.
so uh let's first go through the bracket for those listening. If you can see it, if you're watching us on the clips or on YouTube, you can clearly see it. But for the people listening, yeah, Oregon is the number 1 seed, Georgia the number 2 seed, Boise the number 3 seed, Arizona State the number 4
Which
seed.
hell yeah, Arizona State coming out of
I
nowhere and
dude,
getting
they
the 4 seed. That
remember
was
we were
awesome.
looking at it and they were going to be like in or out as the 12 seed. And then all of a
Yeah.
sudden they jumped all the way up to the 4th seed with a first round bye, which is just
S
insane.
That's good for them.
Yeah. And then we have our first round matchups are number 9 Tennessee at number 8 Ohio State, Clemson, Texas, Indiana, Notre Dame, SMU, Penn State. So just before we get into the minutia of this and how this happened, Casino, just thoughts on the first official college football playoff bracket.
I'm happy with it, honestly. I'm happy with it. I think the teams that should be in are in. I'm happy SMU got in, Clemson got in. You know, the only one that I'm like, Clemson probably should have the 11, and then SMU had the 12, just because Clemson beat them, in that title match.
True.
Um,
Very true.
that's my only thought there. But the fact that they kept Bama out makes me very relieved and happy to think moving forward that the committee is going to get it right.
Yes, I do think it was a very good what can we say? A very good sign that Alabama was not in, and really it didn't even seem like was in contention
Oh yeah, and
to
all
get
I see
into
is
this.
nothing but just like snub, 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 snub. They did not get fucking snubbed. Not at all.
No. If anybody got snubbed, I think I would say Miami. I feel like
Yeah.
Miami was, a team that was potentially where Arizona State would be, and within the last 3 weeks, like they lose one game, and all of a sudden they drop out of the top 12. But again, that was if they were in Clemson spot or SMU spot, they would have win or lose in the AC championship, they still would have made it. So I'm not too heard about that. I just like Miami this season. But when we talk about the college football bracket, I think the first thing that needs to be addressed, Casino, is how Oregon kind of got screwed in the seeding, because unlike the NFL bracket where it gets reseeded every step of the bracket, right? So the highest seed always plays the lowest seed and stuff like that. It instead is like how the NBA does brackets, where you're just stuck in your part of the bracket, and no matter who wins or loses, you play the team. So Oregon plays the winner of Tennessee, Ohio State, who are the 9th and 8th seed. So even if SMU or Clemson wins, they don't get to play them. I mean, they would play Clemson if it got to, the semifinals, but
Right.
that seems again, and if you're looking at all the potential teams that you would want to play if you were Oregon, I feel like of all the choices, it'd be Tennessee, Ohio State, Notre Dame are the 3 teams you wouldn't want to play. Right.
Yeah.
And then, like in the second round, and yet you're going to have a chance to definitely play one of the 3 teams you wouldn't want to play.
Totally.
It seems that, like Georgia, if Indiana pulls the upset, all of a sudden you're getting number 2 seed Georgia against number 10 seed Indiana, while Oregon has to go against Tennessee or Ohio State, who's one of the 3 teams in this bracket I feel like could actually win the national championship. That seems weird.
Yeah. So with all that being said and broken down, obviously, we let's before we get into how we think the bracket's going to go down. Obviously, UNLV lost to Boise, and so I want to just kind of touch on that. Their coach is going to Purdue now, which sucks. So it was a fun ride while it lasted, right? Anyway, so now we got some bowl scheduling. UNLV, they've got Cal in the LA Bowl, which will be fun. I don't know if you've looked up any of the bowl games.
Yeah, I
But
have them
I
right
mean,
here.
yep. Any of them that you were excited for?
Uh, not really. Not none of them are
I'm
really
I'm
doing it
I'm
for me.
looking forward to the South Carolina Illinois. That's going to be in the Citrus Bowl. That's going to be a fun one because I like both of those teams. I like both of their seasons. They were both right on the outside looking in, which was really fun. Um, Michigan, Alabama, with what Michigan did to Ohio State, I know that was a rivalry game. So I'm kind of interested to see if Michigan can take down Bama because Bama obviously has lost to bad teams, but Michigan just beat a good team. So,
Yeah.
to take the rivalry game, and do we put weight on that or not? But that's going to be for the Relay Quest Bowl, whatever it is, Tampa game, the Tampa
Yeah.
game.
I think the ones I like are Pop-Tarts Bowl, which is Miami, Ohio,
You just
Iowa
want the
State.
Pop Tart to come out of the
I
fucking
do.
the
I
thing
like
again,
Pop-Tarts.
dude.
I
That was.
like,
Did you remember last year when it was
yeah.
dancing out of the thing? That was
I
great.
I used it as one
Toaster.
of our thumbnails for one of
That
our
was so
videos.
good.
I also want to see the Alamo Bowl with BYU Colorado.
Yep,
I feel like
that was
that'll
gonna
be
be
a
my
good
next
one.
big one. Yeah,
And then
that's gonna be fun.
I think Texas A&M, maybe USC in the Las Vegas Bowl. That would be a good one. Maybe we could go to that casino.
Possibly.
Uh yeah, but other than that, I
So,
really
are
do think
are you excited for bowl season? Like, are you gonna watch? Because a lot of people thought with these college football playoffs that nobody's gonna give a shit about the bowls
I
outside
was
of like the fans of those teams.
I literally was just going to make that point. I really do think college football playoff might be the nail in the coffin for the bowl games because I don't really think, again, I think 12 is a good number. I think if this was 14 or what, it would have to be, yeah, if we added two more teams in here, you put Alabama and Miami in this college football playoff. I don't think you could make a case for any other teams.
Yeah,
So if it was, what is it, the top 14 teams in here, and then it's 15 through 25, and then all the unranked teams just playing random bowl games that legitimately mean nothing. I think that would
just
honestly be
outside
the
of
death.
pride.
Yeah, I think that would be the death of if NIL didn't kill the bowl games that aren't the
Yeah,
college football playoff.
which
I think this will.
I mean, we could save it for another day, another time, but dude, that portal is so rough. It's so rough. There's something that I would want to talk about if we had time. But yeah, so those are the bowl games. I'm still excited because I want to see UNLV have their best record ever with an 11 win, and I think they can do that versus Cal. But yeah, so I'm still interested in some bowl games, especially the ones that as we talked about, BYU, Colorado. That's going to be fun to watch, especially since you have the Heisman most likely winner there with Travis Hunter.
Yeah.
And then you have the South Carolina Illinois game, who both of those programs played really good this season. Almost got some at-large bids there. So I'm excited for a few of them. I will be watching. Plus, it's just more football scattered throughout the entire next month, which is going to be nice.
Well, yeah.
We'll
And
be able to watch stuff for the next month.
the first round, we're recording this on the 10th of December. So the first game of the college football playoff does not start till December 20th. So we have 10 days. And that's going to be Indiana at number 7, Notre Dame. And then the very next day on that Sunday, or I'm sorry, on that Saturday
You have
is where
4
you
in a row.
get SMU at Penn State, Clemson at Texas, Tennessee at Ohio State. So, of the first round matchups, Casino, what matchup are you looking forward to the most?
Honestly, I I'll be honest, I don't know. I don't really because I think I have some clear winners on each side. I guess Tennessee, Ohio State.
That's the one I'm
Um,
looking forward to the most. Yeah,
yeah, because no matter how much I like SMU, Penn State's gonna win that
annihilate
game.
them.
They should.
Yeah,
They
yeah,
should. I know Texas has had some struggles, but they're better than Clemson. We just
yes.
know that. Notre Dame, they're yes, they don't have a conference, but they're a great team. And Indiana, good for them for having a great season, but Notre Dame should roll them. So I think Tennessee, Ohio State will be fun. Um, so yeah. So let's while we're doing that, what how do you think the playoffs are going to go? Um, you don't have to go the whole way. Like, who do you think is going to be some semifinals and the final, and then the winner?
I think the first round is pretty set to what's going to happen outside of the Tennessee Ohio State game. I think much like you said, everybody's going to be rooting for SMU and Indiana, but I think Notre Dame and Penn State absolutely annihilate them both. And then on the other side, I think Texas, we can have a larger Ewers discussion because he seems to be the weak link in Texas's team, where Texas looks like they could be the best team in the league if they had, like I always talk about him, but the Miami quarterback. If he was
Yeah,
on Texas, I feel like they'd be a shoe-in to at least get to the finals. But Texas, I still think has enough to beat Clemson, even though I thought Clemson looked really good in that ACC championship game. So I think it's going to be in the second round. I think it's going to be Texas, Arizona State, then Boise State, Penn State, Georgia, Notre Dame, and then Oregon versus, I'm gonna pick Ohio State. And I really think the only ones that have a chance to go all the way are probably Georgia, Oregon, Ohio State, and then Notre Dame. I
yeah.
think
So
those would be my four.
yeah, so that's how I see it. So I think the biggest game is going to come down to Oregon, Ohio State on
Yeah,
that side of the bracket. I
yeah.
think Oregon will get it done personally. Um, and then yes, the Texas game should be interesting, but because I have them making it to the semis as well on that side of the bracket, but not beating Ohio State or Oregon. And then Notre Dame and Georgia, man, that is going to be a great one. I mean, obviously Notre Dame has to beat Indiana, but I think it's going to be me personally. I think it's going to be a Notre Dame Oregon
I could
championship
see that. Yeah.
championship, and I will be rooting my ass off for Notre Dame. Not because I did dislike Oregon, because I don't. I will be rooting my ass off for Notre Dame because my grandpa, who's 90, who's almost 91 years old, he wants to see Notre Dame win one in his lifetime, and it's coming close. I mean, he's in great health. Honestly, my grandpa's in great health for being 90, almost 91.
Well,
But
also Notre Dame has won it in his lifetime.
no, that's
In
true.
90, like it's not like Notre Dame is,
Right, but he wants
has
I
never won
mean,
a
not
he wants
he
one
wants
more.
one more. Thank you for
Yes.
yes. Sorry, that's what I meant to say, one more. My mom keeps saying once in in his lifetime, I've had to correct her the same way. So, that's why it was in my mind that way. So, he wants one more time, so I will be rooting for Notre Dame, and I think they have a good shot. So yeah, those are gonna be the 2 big interesting games, Ohio State, Oregon before they even reach the semis, and then same with Notre Dame, Georgia before they reach the semis.
Yeah.
Um,
I
yeah,
think for me, what is it? I've never liked Penn State ever since the,
the
Sandusky
diddle.
whole thing. Yeah. So being able to root so strongly against them for two underdogs in SMU and Boise State is going to be fun. And then if it does come down to Notre Dame, Georgia, or Penn State, I feel like I would be happy with Notre Dame or Georgia going to the finals over either of those two teams. I think the right side of the bracket, when you look at it, really comes down to Notre Dame, Georgia. And then when you look at the left side of the bracket, to me, it's really Ohio State and Oregon. I
Yeah,
think those are the four in this bracket but again, it's a bracket for a reason. They did the playoffs for a reason. It just takes one game for
yeah, and
one.
I honestly, I can look at all these teams and make a case for every team, for
Yeah.
every team, 'cause they're all top-notch teams for a reason.
Yeah. And again, what is it? It'll be fun. And we get it, yeah, from December 20th till January 9th. Or no, the national championship is, oh, it's to be determined. So it'll definitely be, but see, that's a long time. The first round starts on December 20th. The semifinals are
That's fine, that's what I'm saying,
January
we
9th.
get football. We
That is
get
a
college
long time.
football probably all the way damn near till the Super Bowl.
Yeah, but again, that's good. Because what? It'll be January 10th is when the semifinals will be, so the national championship will probably be 2 weeks after that. So it'll be almost end of January
Yeah, it's like
when football
January
season
20th
ends.
is what it shows here on ESPN that I'm looking at.
So, I mean, that's great. That's great. Another full month of college football and also meaningful college football, not
Yeah.
just random, the Fiesta, Tostitos Fiesta Bowl, which means nothing. But yeah, so that'll be great. Now
Moving
casino.
on.
Now that we've done baseball and college football, it is
Now
time
people
to
will
move.
actually watch the show because now we're
Yeah.
moving on to the NFL.
Yeah. And my camera's still, I don't know
I
why
don't know
it's
what's
doing
going
this.
on. I have no idea what you're doing.
There you go. I don't know. I just keep moving.
They're trying to zoom into Michael Jordan in the background.
So our first NFL topic, casino, and the way we talk about the NFL now, if you want to see us talk about every single game, go to our TikTok and listen to our takes. But for YouTube, we're going to be talking about a handful of games. This one is about two games in particular this weekend. And the question is, are you more worried about the Bills, Eagles, or Ravens after this past week? Now, Ravens were on a bye week, but I
Yeah.
still wanted to include them. So really, it comes down to Bills and Rams and Panthers, Eagles. Which of those would you like to talk about first?
Let's go Eagles.
Okay, so the Panthers now 3-10 beat the or not didn't beat, almost beat the Philadelphia Eagles now 11-2. 22-16 was the final score with the Eagles coming out on top. Thoughts on this one, Casino?
We talked about it, and I yelled trap game jokingly.
Yeah.
But I mean, it was a joke, but we did mention that the Panthers, they look like a new team after they came out of the bye. They
Yeah,
look
they
they
look
look
really
good.
good.
I really think the best thing that happened for Bryce Young was that he got benched. He got benched. They brought in Andy Dalton, you know, and I know that it's bad how Andy Dalton, got out and then Bryce Young got to come back in because of the car accident. You never want to see something like that. But that is kind of lucky for Bryce Young that he got another chance at this because he looks good and it doesn't look like he wants to mess this up.
Yeah.
You know, I know that his numbers weren't great. This game, he has one touchdown, one interception. He went almost. It was almost about a 50% completion rating, so not great. But
No,
you
but
watched a
not
lot of that
bad
game.
also.
You watched that game. I watched that game, and you're going up against that defense. He looked pretty good against that
Yes.
defense. Especially, we expected him not to play up to that caliber, especially watching the first part of the season. But with what he was doing against that defense, I was like, okay, pretty good. They kept him in it. So to answer the question, no, I'm not worried about the Eagles. I'm not. I'm not worried about the Eagles. Saquon Barkley still went over 100 yards. Jalen Hurts still threw 2 touchdowns. So I'm not worried about this team. Yeah, I'm not worried about this team.
Yeah, I think when watching the game, again, there was a couple instances, and again, when it's young quarterbacks, when it's rookie quarterbacks, you always say you just want to see flashes, right? Like that was the whole thing with Caleb Williams, where it was like the first month or two of the season, it was
Yeah.
like, where are the special plays? Where is the stuff we saw at USC? And for Bryce Young, that was what it was coming out of Alabama when he went to the Panthers, where it was like, regardless of how bad this team is, regardless of how bad the coach is, like where are the special plays that pop off the screen? Right.
So
And then we've seen that from Bo Nix. We've seen that from Jaden Daniels, especially. But the past 3 weeks since that bye, you've seen the plays where it's just like now all of a sudden Bryce Young is just popping off the screen at certain times during the games where you're like, oh, maybe he can play in the NFL.
right, and
Like,
with that being said, it's not like the Eagles played bad. They didn't turn over the ball. They didn't turn over the ball. They still kept the Panthers to 16 points. But what it was is the Panthers played way better than what they were supposed to play. I mean,
yeah,
their third down efficiency, they were 7 for 16. That's not bad. And then fourth down efficiency, 3 for 5. Like they were doing everything to their capability to be able to compete with the Eagles, and they did. You know,
Yeah.
they were a drive away, and they almost did it. They were a drive away to go down and win that game. And yeah, I have nothing against with how the Panthers played or the Eagles played. I mean, the Eagles did not the Eagles didn't almost blow this game. The Panthers just almost won this game. That's it.
And you know what? As an Eagles fan, I wish the touchdown would have counted for the Panthers because then the Eagles, I believe, would have had a minute left, two timeouts, and I would like to have seen the ball in Jalen Hurts' hands where he can't rely on Saquon Barkley. And then it's like, okay, go win us this game.
Mhm.
Because the issues coming out of this game, and especially as an Eagles fan, are Brandon Graham went on his talk show and said basically like, "Oh, and it's being taken out of context. Of
Yeah,
course it is.
of
But
course,
you
and that's what he even
listen
said too.
yeah, you listen to the or you just read the snippet of what's being discussed, and it was like, well, AJ Brown and Jalen Hurts used to be friends, and then like all this stuff started happening. But it was like the context of how he was saying it was like they used to be friends, and then they got on the same team, and now they're friends and also like business partners, basically. Like he was saying they used to be just friends. Now they're just friends and teammates. So
Yeah,
like that
and
was
there
the
was talk about him
context of it.
saying that, like, they needed to play better, both Hurts and Brown, like
Yeah, like they needed to communicate better with each other and not do it in the media was his basically overall point, which again, we agree with, everybody agrees with. And before the game, like Jalen Hurts, Devontae Smith, and AJ Brown are like having a huddle together and like hyping each other up. So this whole thing of like they're on bad terms, like, no, they're not. But the issue I have with the Eagles right now is that they're one dimensional by choice, and the one dimensional by choice is because Saquon Barkley is such an offensive weapon that I mean, we just finished week 14 and he already broke the rushing record for Eagles franchise history. There's 4 more games to go and he already has the record. And it's
yeah, and
not
so for those people to say, "Oh, well, the season's longer now, the season's longer now, blah blah blah." Okay, well, he did it 4 games before, so like before
yeah,
the end
yeah.
of this new season.
He
So
would technically still have 3 games if it was just regular, the regular season we did. He would have broken the regular season record if it was still a 14-game season because he did it in week 14.
yeah,
So,
that's what I'm
it's
saying.
yeah.
So, like, with
So,
these these added 3 games or, yeah, 3 games, the extra 4 weeks with the bye and everything, like, dude, shove it up your ass. Like, I did come across that where somebody tried to say, "Well, the season's longer." I don't remember what site I was on, and I'm like, "But it's week 14,
yeah,
right?"
and he still would
Like,
have
and he still
broken
broke it.
the record if
Like,
they would have done the lowest.
make it make sense in your mind, bud.
But so the to put a bow and a pin on this discussion is it's just the reason this is a talking point is Jalen Hurts in this game was 14 for 21, 108 yards passing, 2 touchdowns. He
Again,
also
Panthers played
ran
well. The Panthers played well.
yeah, he also ran eight times for 59 yards and a touchdown. And I text you this during the game where I was like, I love this version of Jalen Hurts because he's very, what is it? He's very patient. He's very smart with the ball. And Josh Allen, and like Lamar Jackson and Mahomes are like the 5 or 4 quarterbacks in the league where when 2 guys are about to sack him, you just don't go like, oh, he just got sacked. Like I
You
mean, he
hold your breath.
literally, yeah, he literally shrugged 2 guys off, ran for 20 yards, slid, and then it was like a third down that was now a first
Yeah.
down. So when you
So
watch
are
Jalen
you
Hurts play,
so are you
I
worried about him?
no, and honestly, I think the issue is at the end of halves, like when they're going into halftime, they have scored the most points all season as an offense. And I think why that is because it's up tempo, it's no huddle, it's just calls at the line, it's really quick passes, it's really quick decision making, which Jalen Hurts has shown that he's good at when it's not this methodical, like, okay, we huddle. Now we get the play. Now we get a completion. Now we huddle. Now we get the play. Now we get like an incompletion. And it's just
Yeah.
like, I think he likes the up tempo, like, let me call it at the line. And then they have the most points at the end of the half because that's how they play. So I want to see more of the Eagles offense just be like more quick, no huddle, like just get to the line, let Jalen call it, let the audibles come in, and then just go score. But I also, and this is a good transition to the Bills Rams game, is you can give all the credit in the world, and we do, when you talk about Josh Allen and the game he just played against the Rams. But again, you can't give all the credit uh to Josh Allen in games where he plays immaculate and perfect, and then shit all over Jalen Hurts for the way he played in the game when Hurts won that game and Allen didn't win his game. Like, you
Right.
get what I'm saying? Like, it's so weird to just be like, we need to have a Josh Allen game where he throws for what Josh Allen threw 342 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interception, and he ran for 10 carries, 82 yards, 3 touchdowns. Again, amazing stat line. One of the best stat lines you're ever going to see for a running quarterback like Josh Allen. But I'd much rather watch Eagles games where they control the clock, they kind of just work their way downfield with Saquon, with Hurts, and then win games to where they're not in 44 to 42 game shootouts like the Bengals have to be with Joe Burrow, like the Ravens have to be with Lamar Jackson, and like the Bills were in this game. So, yeah, when we talk about
Let's
this,
segue to the Bills. Yep.
so when we talk about this game, the Bills lose 44 to 42 against the now 7-6 Rams. Bills are now 10-3. The things coming out of this game are the Bills basically lost the first round bye, right? I think we can agree on that. Because I don't
Yeah.
think, from what we've seen from KC, they're going to lose 2 more games
No,
to.
they needed to lose one of the Chargers, and then because I again the Bills Lions game's next week. So
Yeah.
my hot take, it came down to this week.
Yeah.
We needed the Chargers to beat the Chiefs, so we'll get to that. But to answer the question about this, am I worried about the Bills? No. Reason why I'm not worried about the Bills. Yes, the Rams put up 44 against that defense, but I don't know if there's another wide receiver playing better than Puka Nacua right now. I just don't. He's just so good. 12 receptions, 162 yards. Hi, honey. My daughter's raising her hand. She wants my attention with something. But Matthew Stafford, 23 for 30, 2 touchdowns. He was outstanding. And then Josh Allen doing another historical thing that's never been done before, just like the snow game where he threw one, ran one, and caught one. He just went for 3 passing touchdowns and 3 rushing touchdowns. 6 touchdowns for him. Is it bad that they lost? Yes. I've been talking about, are they going to lower my power rankings? Spoiler, maybe. But anyway, I'm not worried about them at a whole because they're still 10-3. They're still they won't get that first round bye, but they still won their division. They're still going to most likely have that 2 seed. I'm not worried about this team in the slightest. In the slightest. So that's my take on it. And now I gotta figure out what my daughter needs over here as she's waving her hand at me. Oh, it looks like BJ dropped. So I guess I'll keep going. Yes, honey. Oh, and he's back. Perfect timing. Because I just finished my talk. Now I got to see what my daughter needs. So, Dad.
Yeah. So if the discussion is, and you know what? Now I'll make it where it's me. Let's remove him. So if the discussion is, which is the question posed, am I worried about the Bills? I don't think I'm worried about the Bills, but I also think when you lose a game like this, where essentially you play a perfect offensive game and then your defense can't make one stop to win the game, and there was also that weird semblance of play calls at the last minute of the fourth quarter. But again, people are like, well, they cost them the game. It was still a 2-score game. So even if they get, even if it wasn't that hodgepodge of calls down there with that weird quarterback sneak that everybody knew was a quarterback sneak, and then they got stopped almost, what, 2 yards behind, the goal line. When it comes to stuff like that, again, the coaching with the Bills has always been one of those things where, like, is McDermott a good coach? Is he not a good coach? Like, he is a good coach, but it becomes one of those things where he is a good coach. Is he good enough to lead the Bills to a Super Bowl? I don't know. Josh Allen is good enough to lead the Bills to a Super Bowl.
Yeah, I
Is
think
his coach?
Josh
I
Allen's
don't
the
know.
best quarterback. Dude, he's a generational talent that I don't think we'll ever see again. Like, yes, Mahomes is great. Jalen Hurts is great on their athleticism,
Yeah.
but what Josh Allen can do, and it comes a lot down to his arm as well. I mean, when you can throw a 60-yard dart in the snow, in the wind with that arm strength that he has at what I think he's 6'6", like he is a specimen out there on the field. Would I
Yeah.
much rather have, a Jalen Hurts or a Lamar Jackson, if I was a run heavy team all day, all day.
Well,
But
even if you were a run heavy team, Josh Allen can also do that.
right, he can also
Like,
do that. I understand that. But I'm trying not to downplay how good Mahomes is, how good Jalen Hurts is, Lamar Jackson, all those other dual threat quarterbacks. But I don't think I've ever seen anybody like Josh Allen play football.
yeah. I think right now, if it came down to it, I think there would really be 3 teams, maybe 2 teams in the entire league that if you put Josh Allen on a trade block and was just like, "Let's make a deal," I think there would be 29 other teams that would be like, "Let's put a package together to try to
Yeah,
get Josh Allen."
one hundred
Probably,
percent. And
what,
I
Bengals, Ravens, Chiefs would be the only ones where it's just like,
uh,
"No,
I and this makes it so hard. I was so ready to have Saquon jump Josh Allen for the MVP,
it's not gonna happen."
but
Josh Allen won MVP
dude,
with this game.
but when you just make 2 games, you make history in 2 of your, most recent games here with
Yeah.
what he's done. Like, it's just it's insane what he's doing right now. He
On the
wants
season.
to win. He just wants to go to the Super Bowl. He wants the
Yeah.
chance to go to the Super Bowl. Whether they win it or not, I think just Bills fans want to go back and have that opportunity. Obviously, they want to win, but so do teams like the Lions, teams that haven't been there, but they want
Well,
to.
on the season at the moment, Josh Allen has 32 touchdowns, 7 turnovers, 2 of those being lost fumbles. So just insane, insane. And again, there's still 4 games to go. The marquee of marqueest matchups happens this week where it's Bills Lions. So, am I worried about the Bills? No, but I do think this is one of those games where it makes you question how great their defense is, especially when obviously they have a defensive head coach in McDermott. So, and the Rams, again, the Rams can go against anybody in this league and they can have a top 3 at least passing attack, right? I don't think their running attack is as good as some of the other teams in the league that are, like obviously the Ravens or the Eagles, where it's like their top 5 offenses, both passing and rushing, with the just not even stats, with just the weapons they have available. But even in this game, Kyron Williams, 29 carries, 87 yards, 2 touchdowns. So their running game, I don't love, but I also don't hate it. It kind of feels like a middle of the road rushing attack. But their offense, I mean, with Stafford, Nakua, Cup, even Tutu Atwell, and Demarcus Robinson, who didn't do anything in this game, but we've seen him have big games in the past when there was injuries to Nakua and Cooper Cup. I think they can beat anybody on a good day. And this was a great day. This is probably the best version of the Rams offense. And then their defense has struggled all year, but they got young guys on it. So I think if they keep this core together next year, I think the Rams are really a threat. But as far as the Bills, I still think they're in the Super Bowl bubble. We'll get to our power rankings in a minute, but let's move on, Casino. And
Yeah.
I kind of just threw the Ravens in there.
Oh,
just
I'm worried about
because
the Ravens. We've talked about it.
yeah, we're worried about the Ravens because of that defense. So I just wanted to tie that in with the Bills. And Eagles defense wasn't bad, but they still gave up over 300 yards to the Panthers, which is bad. So next up, Casino, the question is, after a big week for the NFC North, obviously the Bears have been out of it for a while and they get blown out by the 49ers. But the three teams I'm specifically talking about are going all the way back to Thursday night's game. We have a Lions Packers video we did, so go listen to that one. We posted on Friday. But Lions won 34-31 against the Packers on Thursday night. And then yesterday or 2 days ago on Sunday, Vikings win 42-21 against the Falcons, where Sam Darnold throws 5 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, and has a 22 out of 28 completions versus attempts for 347 yards. Addison and Jefferson have 133 and 132 yards, 3 touchdowns to 2 touchdowns. This was and then again, we're still seeing the continued downfall of Kirk Cousins, who throws 23 for 37, 344, 0 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. One of those interceptions was bad. So, thoughts on, I mean, we talked about Packers Lions. You can go listen to that video. So, thoughts on specifically Vikings Falcons?
Yeah. Well, the answer to the question, though, who wins the NFC North? It's going to be the Lions. And from what I saw this weekend, and as we said, dating back to Thursday's game, um, the Lions just are smart about how they're playing football. They're aggressive when they need to be. That's Dan Campbell's way, but they're also smart with how they handle the ball. Like, yes, those were really risky, but I would have taken those 4th and 1s every single time, to get in. Everybody's like, "Oh man, if they didn't go in, they were screwed. They were screwed." Yeah, well, then they had Jordan Love would have to start on the 1 yard line, So who knows what would have happened? But I like the Lions to win this. That was a very key game for them to win that division, because if they lost that, then that opens up the door for the Vikings. That opens up the door for the Packers to catch them. But I think that was a statement win, saying we are the kings of the North. We are the Lions. You can't beat us, and we're going to show you why, because they know how to play. And so now, specifically now talking about the Vikings, I love them. I think they're great. I think the connection that Sam Darnold has with Addison, that has with Jefferson, is just something special. And then, like I said, TJ Hawkinson thrown in there is just another security blanket. He's a big target that you can. I always talk about TJ Hawkinson
Man,
because
you
I
love
like.
TJ
I
Hawkinson.
do. I do. I like him. He's a big, reliable target. I think he's the best tight end that people don't talk about. You know, him, and I know Byers is a rookie, or Bowers is a
Bowers,
rookie,
yeah.
but everybody's it's Kelsey, it's Kittle, the people that are on the TV. But I absolutely love TJ Hawkinson, and he handily won them a game. Anyway, so with that being said, I like the Vikings. They play tough, they play well. And what they did against yes, it was the Falcons, and people have been trying to downplay that. I don't agree with that at all, because the the Falcons were playing for their playoffs. That
Yeah.
was playing for their playoffs, because the Bucks were right on their tail. Now the Bucks are ahead of them, and they're not going to get in unless they win that division. And that's not going to happen now. It's not going to happen, because yes, the Vikings, if I or not Vikings, why do I keep saying the Vikings? But yes, the Falcons, they did beat, if I recall right, they did beat the Bucks both times, right?
Yes.
So with them beating them both times, that was a monumental game. The Bucks had to move ahead of them by a game, and that happened. So the Falcons knew that going in. Hey, even if the Bucks win, if we win this game, we still got them. We're still ahead. We got this. Not the
Yeah.
case. Not the case.
Well,
So they were playing for something. So it's not like the Vikings were just like, oh, this is just another team. The Falcons were playing their best football that they had to play, and it wasn't even close. I like the Vikings. They're 11-2 for a reason. They're they look good. They just look outstandingly good.
yeah. And I think the question is who wins who wins the NFC North, I think when we look at it on paper, I mean, it really does come down to the Bills game this coming Sunday, because if Lions lose that and then Vikings win out, Vikings are the number 1 seed.
Yeah.
I think I think it's really comes down to Vikings Lions, and it really comes down to that game, and then when the Lions Vikings obviously play each other later in the season. But this coming Sunday's game really means a lot to the Lions, and I think the Bills losing to the Rams this Sunday kind of diminishes what that game means to the Bills,
Yeah.
because
I was really, really, really hoping that the Chargers would have beat the Chiefs this week and the Bills would have won, right? And
then it would have been
then,
whoever
like,
wins this game gets the number 1 seed.
for
Yeah.
both, pretty
Yeah,
much,
for both.
for
Yeah.
both sides, like, that would have been outstanding. Ugh.
Yeah, I know. That is a letdown.
Ah.
Again, the one of our listeners actually commented something that I didn't think about, but I was like, that is a good point, because we've been commenting how the Lions defense has looked a little suspect. I made the claim on the video that Jordan Love had 5 seconds to throw all day and all that kind of stuff. But I looked it up because I was like, everybody was like, no, he didn't. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? And I was like, I watched the game. It felt like he had all day. So I found this. Jordan Love's average time to throw against the Lions was 3.15 seconds,
That's
which is the highest for the Packers offense this season, and paints the picture of the outstanding performance from the Lions coverage unit given the lack of pass rush and slippery field conditions. So it wasn't 5 seconds. It was still 3.15 seconds, which is the longest he's had to pass all season, which is what was my point, which is the Lions have no pass rush since the Aiden Hutchinson went down, but the Lions defensive starters start coming back from IR after week 15 and into the playoffs. Hutchinson said he'll even be there for potentially the NFC Championship game if the Lions can get there. So my point being, if Lions can just hang on
and
with,
they're doing that because of good coaching. They
yeah,
figured
good
out a
coaching,
way
great
they're
offense.
figured out a way, "Hey, we do not have a pass rush. We don't have a pass rush. So what can we do defensively to still pull off these games?" And they have done it exceptionally.
Well, and what they have done is have great uh defensive coverage in the back half of the
Yep.
defense, which is they have great safeties with Branch back there. They have great secondary, and it's just I really do think that they can play the type of defense where it's like, we're not going to get to your quarterback. Your quarterback's going to have time to throw, but just nobody's going to be open.
Yeah.
And again, that's not sustainable, but it doesn't have to be. It has to be sustainable for 2, 3 weeks
Yeah.
before they start getting guys back.
Yeah,
So,
and, you take care of, again, they have a very big, heavy, divisional end of their schedule, but, you get to that point where, you get that last game where you can rest some players and whatnot. You don't have to worry about winning that game, so you don't even have to rest your players, but you can breathe saying, "Hey, we don't have to be perfect. We don't have to be perfect.
yeah.
Let's do our, let's play hard, but we don't have to be perfect."
Well, and
And
we've already seen a 5 interception game where they were the opposite of perfect and they still won. So again,
I'm
last
saying
four.
I'm saying on the defensive side though.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, but I'm saying if we've seen it either offensively or defensively. And then for the Lions, they do Bills this week, which you talked about, Bears 49ers, which again are both very winnable games, and then week 18 against Minnesota Vikings. So they need to minimum win the Minnesota Vikings game. But if Minnesota just keeps rolling, I mean, they're really going to put the pressure on Detroit to kind of just put the pedal to the metal, which they've been doing all season. So, who wins the NFC North is the Lions, but again, Vikings are shockingly close, like one game away close from being the
Yeah.
number 1 seed, winning the NFC North, and Lions get knocked all the way down to 5. Next up, last thing, Casino, the Chiefs and the rest of the games. But really, we're just going to talk about the Chiefs because we've been going for longer than I thought. But there was a lot of stuff to talk about coming out of this week. So everybody watched it, everybody saw it. The Chiefs win on Sunday Night Football, 19-17. The ball doinks off the goalpost and then goes in for the Chiefs to give them the 19-17 victory. Again, it was what? It was a no, that was the first quarter. It was a 31-yard field goal. So can't even just kick it right through the uprights when it's a basically gimme for any kicker in the league. Well, I guess except for this season where every kicker has struggled. But it just feels like one of those games where it's inevitable. Again, how many times have we said it where it's just inevitable that the Chiefs win these games? And this is how they win. Going toe to toe with the Chiefs right up until the fourth quarter, and then just some dumb shit happens. Like, what else can you say? Dumb shit happens, and the dumb shit that happened this time was the doink on a what should be a easy field goal in this league, even with how kickers have struggled this season. But Patrick Mahomes in this game, 24 for 37, 210 yards, one touchdown, zero interceptions. Pacheco comes back, doesn't really do much, 14 carries, 55 yards. And then again, the guys that stepped up in this game were Kelsey, Worthy, and Hopkins. And then Juju Smith-Schuster and Noah Gray. So that's the core of the Chiefs offense now. It's Kelsey, obviously, because it's always been Kelsey, the new addition of Worthy, new addition of Hopkins, Juju Smith Schuster, and then Noah Gray, who is sneakily like the best red zone tight end in the game right now, even better than Travis Kelsey, because I feel like Noah Gray is the one that gets all the touchdowns when they get into the red zone, even though he didn't get a touchdown this time. But yeah, you look at this game, and I think from the Chargers side, they were down their running back, so they had Gus Edwards in. He did 10 for 36, a touchdown, averaging 3.6 yards a carry, so nothing crazy. Herbert and Mahomes basically have the same attempts, completion, yards. Herbert goes 21 for 30, 213, one touchdown, zero interceptions. And then again, the issue with the Chargers is who do they throw to? So when you look at who got a reception in this game, I mean, there's 10 different guys here. I think, again, when it comes to the Chargers, they need a clear number one stud wide receiver. I don't know, like a Keenan Allen or somebody like that to kind of take the burden off his quarterback, or even if Herbert had like a Kelsey. And by that, or, you know, like we talked about with Hawkinson when he was with the Vikings, or when he was with the Lions, now the Vikings, but just somebody like that, either a top wide receiver or a top tight end that can just kind of be his security blanket. But other than that, I think the story coming out of this game is how physical this game felt and how eerily similar both the Chargers and the Chiefs felt defensively, offensively, which is the offenses are very similar. And then it just becomes one of those things where Chargers go blow to blow with the Chiefs, Chiefs go blow to blow with the Chargers. It's a close game. And then again, like I said earlier, dumb shit happens and the Chiefs win because that's been their mantra this entire season.
Yeah.
So thoughts on this game, because I
the
kind of
Chiefs should, yeah. The Chiefs Chargers, like, just my whole bar, I said it on the TikTok, like the whole bar just exhaled and like just like really, or booed. Like it was half and half, and nobody wants to see it anymore. Everybody's just tired. Like if they were just beating teams because they were just dominating, that's one thing, but they're not. And there really hasn't been that many questionable like referee calling lately. So I will give that for the most part. Early on in the season, it was very meh, meh, meh. But as the season's gone on, it just seems like they're just getting lucky, and like everything's just falling their way. And it's, when does it stop? Like, just when does it stop, man?
Yeah.
Like,
It doesn't. That's why
it
that's the
doesn't.
thing. It doesn't.
But here's the thing: like, I still have trouble calling them a good team because I watched these games. I watched these games intensely, and I just watched the plays that all the teams are making,
Oh,
the
yeah.
Chiefs specifically, and I'm like, this is not an impressive team.
No. It's
Like it,
impressive that they're winning, but if you didn't know what their record was, you'd be like, "This team is 6-7. This is a
yeah, this
7-6
is a
team."
500 team.
Yeah. This is yeah.
So yeah,
This they look
it's
like what the Rams should be,
yeah,
right?
and
Like,
it's
they look
really
like the
tough for me
Rams.
to just say they're a great team when I watch them week in and week out. But again, good teams win games. I say it all the time. But it's so hard to watch this team and say they are a top tier team, you know?
Yeah, because they are, but on paper they aren't.
Yeah.
Like when you look at them, what is the highest score they've scored all season, Casino, if you had to take a guess? The
32.
most points they've scored in a game.
32.
32. No, they've scored 30 twice. So one time was against the Panthers. That remember they won on a last second field goal, 30-27. And then the other one was in OT Monday night where they won against the Tampa Bay Bucks on the
So they,
touchdown
they
in
needed
OT.
OT to get an extra 6 points.
Yes. And in both cases, games went right down to the wire. And then the next closest time was 49ers and Ravens, where they scored 28 and 27 points. So again, this is not the Chiefs of old where they're blowing teams out. They're putting up 30 plus points. They have, Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelsey both over 100 yards. This is just like a nose to the grindstone, like wear you down physical team that just kind of and again, this is the thing where it's like, oh, well, this is how the Chiefs play. They're just waiting for the playoffs. They're just waiting for the playoffs. They're just messing around and letting teams hang in. They wouldn't be letting Mahomes get hit as much as he's getting hit if that
Yeah.
was the case. Because even in this game, the Chargers still got to him 3 times. What, they hit him or knocked him around probably 10 times. And
Yeah.
it's like
Very true.
Mahomes legitimately looks like he's running for his life out there. So this like sweep under the rug thing of, oh, well, the Chiefs are just toying with people. Then why are you letting your $500 million quarterback take so many hits if you're just toying with teams? Like that narrative, I think annoys me more than anything in the league. But I mean, we'll
Moving on.
see it. Yeah. And on that note, Casino, we've already gone an hour. Do we want to do power rankings today or on next episode?
Let's just do them. Let's just go through them because I feel like we talked about all the teams.
That's very true. So that means it is time right now for the only sports podcast power rankings. And the theme today, Casino, is Arizona.
Hmm.
Arizona.
I do like Arizona.
I went to Arizona with the family this weekend, and Arizona is beautiful. They
I
have
love
really
I
good
love
nature.
desert. I think
Yeah.
desert scenery is gorgeous.
Well, then you're going to love today's theme, which is basically the Arizona desert. So, up first, Casino, on your power ranking, your top 10. Let's see. Let's start it. We start in the desert with your number 10 pick.
Yeah. Seahawks. This was a tough one because there's like I wasn't going to pull a U and put 5 teams in the one
Oh, then you're
spot.
going to hate my power rankings
I
today.
already know. I
You're
already
going
know.
to hate it.
So I went more traditional. I like the Seahawks. I mean, Geno Smith, good or bad, who knows? It's week to week basis. But right now,
Yeah.
that was a good win. They needed that win. They showed up when they needed to on the road. That puts them ahead for me. So that's where I'm leaving.
Also, the guy who says we need to play more clips, what do you think of this? This is a clip of a desert. What more do you want from us? But next up,
You know what this reminds me of, right? Looking at this is like, all right, pick the squares only with the cactus in it.
oh yeah, where you have to like do the. That's a good call. Now, however, Casino, my top 10, I still have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And they were at 10 last week. They're at 10 this week because their win was impressive. But again, it was against the team that right now currently has the number 1 pick in the NFL draft and has 2 wins. I know you love that picture of Baker
I love that
Mayfield.
picture. But you know what else?
So-
Now I'm looking at him like, all right, pick all the squares that has the sun in it. Like just so obscure.
But also this was a weird game. Aiden O'Connell gets knocked out of the game on like a phantom injury where he just does a normal football trip, I guess. And messes his leg up. He's out for the season. Ritter steps in. Baker Mayfield didn't have the best game, but he still threw 3 touchdowns.
They
So
fight. They're gritty.
yeah, Buccaneers, I still think, especially with what the Falcons have been doing the past month, they still win the division
Yeah,
at probably 9 wins, 9
probably
and 8, 9
9 and
and
8.
yeah, or yeah.
9 and 8.
Next up, Casino, your number 9 pick is the Los Angeles, I almost said San Diego, Los Angeles Chargers.
Yeah, because again, they look like a really good team. They did just lose to the Chiefs barely. So they were in my power rankings last week. They're still in my power rankings. They played a good game on the road in Kansas City, almost took them out. I like this team. And Justin Herbert was getting just rocked. Like he was taking so many injuries, like he had to come off the field,
Oh,
like
that
he had to be
one that
helped
took
off.
him out of the game for a second, like,
Yeah.
that was nasty.
So I got to give him at so much credit, and I do like this team. I do like this team, but yet the Chiefs are just better. It is what it is, especially on the road.
And shockingly, my number 9 is your number 9 and 10 because I'm putting both the Seahawks and Chargers at number 9. And we're trying to roll through this. So I don't really have anything else to add. The Seahawks are most likely going to come out of the NFC West, even though I
Yeah,
think the Rams are a better team. The Seahawks just, I
they've
don't think they lose enough games where the Rams can catch them.
that's
Or
fair.
no, I'm sorry. I don't have the Chargers. I have the Rams here. So that's why
Yeah,
I'm
I
putting
was
both
looking at that.
them that's why I'm putting them both at 9 and 10 or at I'm sorry, at 9
See, this is
because
why I don't do this because now you can't even get your shit together here.
they're both at 9 because I think right now in the NFC West, the Seahawks have one more win. The Rams coming
Yes,
off a big victory against the Bills. I don't think the Rams can catch the Seahawks, but I think they're a better team than the Seahawks. But again, you can't have the Seahawks not on this list and the Rams on this list when the Seahawks are leading the division with one more
right.
win.
Fair enough.
So that's
Moving on.
why yeah, that's why they're number 9 for me. For number 8 for you, Casino, is up. Let me scroll to it. The Baltimore Ravens.
Yeah, again, good, but show me something more, man. That defense has just got to figure it out, but that offense is just too fucking good. Just too good. Like it's so frustrating. And I know they were just on their bye. So I'm just gonna leave them right there. Just call it what it is. Please come out of the bye kicking ass. Hopefully you traded your entire defense and you got something new in there. But I'm just gonna leave them there. Just gonna leave them there.
Yeah.
Lamar
Hopefully we
Jackson.
see
Lamar Jackson is too good, and he's playing so good right now. Same with Henry. That I have trouble putting this team anywhere else. Even with 5 losses, man. Like
yeah.
I struggle taking this team out of my top 10. I truly do.
It's legitimately going to be insane if by the time Burrow, Allen, and Lamar Jackson all retire, none of them have Super Bowls to their name. That's legitimately going to be insane if that just never happens. And it's kind of if
It's going to happen.
the Bills and Ravens keep having the playoff luck they do, that will happen. And then obviously Joe Burrow, got their 1 year and then it's been a dumpster fire in Cincinnati basically since then.
Yeah.
So
I mean, and you can add Goff to that too.
oh, that's true. All right. Next up, Casino. I have 2 more teams because I put both AFC West teams. And again, I had the
And it's
Broncos.
so funny, like all these teams that you're putting right here, like that's where I was like, making my 10 is so hard. Like
Yeah.
putting whoever I want to put on the 10 spot is so hard. So you just put them all together.
Yeah. And let me move us out of the way. So I just put both AFC West teams that aren't the Chiefs because Broncos run a bye. So they shouldn't move down. They obviously can't move up. Chargers, they fall back a little bit because obviously they lost to the Chiefs. But again, they looked almost identical to the Chiefs that are a 1-loss team on this season. So how would you go toe to toe with the defending Super Bowl champion? In one game against them, you have a 10-point lead. In another game, you almost win, except the thing doinks and goes in instead of out. So you went toe to toe with the best team in the league both times you played them. And both times against them, you were as physical as them. Your quarterback looked as good as Mahomes. I just don't think there's any rationale where you can look at the Chargers and be like, they're not one of the 10 best teams in the league, especially coming off again a week where they went toe to toe with the defending Super Bowl champs. Next up, Casino, your number 7, the Green Bay Packers.
Yeah, they look feisty, man. That defense is just top notch. It's just outstanding. I like them a lot. That young team is so feisty.
Yeah.
And they went toe to toe with, you know, the team that's at the top of the fucking list right now. So they're the what they did against Detroit in Detroit was just outstanding. They pushed them to their limit.
Yeah.
They had to win that game by completing 4 of 5, I think it was, yeah, 4 of 5 fourth down conversions. Like, it's just outstanding play by the Green Bay Packers, and they rightfully deserve to be in the mix of it.
And we'll talk about the Packers in a bit, but on my list. But right now, Casino, my number, what, this is 6. My number 6 is, or no, 10, 9, 8, 7. Yeah, this is 6.
Mhm.
My number 6, Casino. No, wait, 10, 9, 8. This is my 7. Whatever. My number
Yeah, see, this
7
is
pick.
again what happens when you put too many teams together.
No, no, this is just the grid is messing me up. My number 7. Oh no. Well, there you go. My number 7 and number 6 is I have Stavros as obviously the most famous Ravens fan I know. He is my number 10, 9, 8, 7 team. And then my 6th team is the Green Bay Packers. So when you talk, much like you did, just about the Packers and then the Ravens, obviously the Ravens are on there, much like the Broncos, because they were on a bye. We've talked about the issues with the Ravens enough. So we'll skip over the Ravens. With the
But I thought this
Packers,
was week to week. How are they even on your power rankings?
well, they didn't move up or down. I don't think. I think this is where I had them last time. Maybe a
Anyway,
little,
moving on.
yeah. But you'll see my week to week, Casino. My week to week is also Packers moved way up in my rankings because again, I really liked how they looked against the Lions. I think they're a good team. I think Jordan Love again is pretty hot or cold, but when he's hot, he's
He
one of the
hot
best
hot.
quarterbacks in the league.
When he's
And I
hot,
think
he
he
hot hot.
had, yeah, I think again, my issue with the Packers, which people give me shit for in our comments, but keeps ringing true week after week. Tell me the game the Packers have where they won against a winning team that was impressive to you. The only impressive win on their record is against the Texans. Week after week, we talk about how the Texans are shams of what they were last season and are only going to be in the playoffs because of the division they play in. So, with the Packers, give me one win either in your division or outside of your division against a winning team. Because last time I checked, they only let winning teams into the playoffs. So, right now, if you're picking the Packers against any team going into the playoffs right now, who are you having them win against? It's got to be either an NFC West or an NFC South team. And again, if they're playing the Buccaneers, if they're playing the Seahawks or the Rams, I think the Seahawks, Rams, and Buccaneers have a legitimate shot to upset the Packers just
Nice.
from what we've seen this season.
Yes, my son is waking up, so now we got to really roll through the power rankings.
Yeah. So now, Casino, your number 6 pick is the Pittsburgh Steelers.
No, we'll do my 6 and 5. And Pittsburgh Steelers, what about there we go. What a bounce back game. Russell Wilson looked good. I told you they were going to take care of business. Yeah, and they did. I like them. They're a hard hitting team. I like their coach through and through. They deserve to be. They deserve to be where they're at.
Yeah. Your number 5 pick, Casino, is the Kansas City
So
Chiefs.
I'm putting them there, and I'm putting them there, and they could be 4. The reason I'm putting them there is because they are still only winning these games by the skin of their teeth, by luck, by balls bouncing in off the crossbars, by a linebacker falling over. Like, they're barely winning these games, and it's not because what they are doing. It's by just some random last second things that are happening. Like, That's why I'm struggling moving this team up, even with them only having one loss. It is so tough for me to move them forward.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody's like, oh, they only have one loss. They're still winning their games, and I say it all the time. Good teams find a way to win, but the eye test just tells me that they're not there.
Yeah.
It's just so hard for me to, and you can make a case to put them at 4 for me, but or I can make a case of putting them at 4, but I'll get to that in a second. So go for it.
My number 5 right now, as we just mentioned, the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think, again, we knew they would get revenge against the Browns. They did get revenge. Jameis Winston had a classic Jameis Winston game, throwing as many touchdowns as he did interceptions. I think legitimately you can make the case that the Steelers might be the best team in the AFC, especially they're the best team in the AFC nobody's talking about, because all the focus is on the Ravens, on the Chiefs, on the Bills, and the Steelers are kind of quietly over here playing great defense. Their offense has just got, kicked into fifth gear with Russell Wilson coming back, and just this resurgence of Russell Wilson as just a great quarterback. So, and especially when you look at, guys similar in age to Russell Wilson, you look at how Kirk Cousins, you look at how Aaron Rodgers is struggling, and then, silently over in the corner is Russell Wilson just putting on a show. So I think the Steelers, again, just quietly keep moving up my rankings because I think they're a legitimately really good team. My number 4 casino, I'm putting the Buffalo Bills. And that is two fans crashing through a table, classic Buffalo Bills game. And again, the Bills had basically their own destiny in their hands, which was just beat. Again, the Rams weren't the game that everybody was like, oh, what's the Bills going to look like? It was the game against the Lions. The Bills Lions, as we just talked about earlier in the game, was supposed to be the game where it was like, this decides the number 1 seed in either the NFC or the AFC. And yeah, they just, we'll talk about the Bills in a second, Casino, because your next pick is after the Chiefs is the Buffalo Bills. So,
Yep, and I could have pushed them back one more,
I
and put
agree.
the Chiefs ahead of them, but I feel like with Josh Allen, they always have a shot. They will
Yeah.
always have a shot, and with what he's doing and the records that he's like making, the things that nobody's ever done in NFL history in the quarterback position, it's hard not to root for him. I mean, they had to fly all the way from Buffalo to LA for that game. Um, the Rams always play teams hard. Like, it's just what it is. Puka Nacua, again, I think might be the best receiver in the league right now. He's just making catches and doing things that people are just like in awe about. Like that toe grab that he had on the sideline, just insane. So you can flip flop these two, and I'd be fine with it. But I'm going to put the Bills there because I think as a whole, as a team, I like their grit and their play better, and
Yeah.
I like them better than Kansas City.
Well, I think coming out of this week, I think there's no question marks with Josh Allen. Even in his best playoff performances where they've lost, I'm thinking of the Kansas City, last second, 20-second game. He still played a great game in that game. We've seen great games from him in the playoffs where his team still loses. And usually that's due to defense,
Yeah,
which again, after this week is the question mark with this team.
yeah.
But as far as Josh Allen, right
He's
now,
fine. I heard
undisputed the best
Colin.
quarterback in the
I
league.
heard Colin saying, I was listening to Colin that he is in games that he throws for that many yards. He is 4 and 5 in 11 games that he's thrown that for that many yards. Like, it is just, it's
Yeah,
mind
he gets in
blowing.
shootouts. Yeah, he gets in shootouts and mostly loses, even again after this week where he had
Yeah.
basically a perfect game.
So moving
Your
on,
number 3 casino is also my number 3, so we can just go these back to back, and that is the Minnesota Vikings.
dude. They look good. They just look good. The chemistry that Sam Darnold has with those two players, with Addison, with Jefferson, is just insane. It's so good. They are on the same page. It's basically having Tua Tyreek. It is having Burrow and Chase. Like, it's
Yeah.
that kind of connection that he has with these two players, and it's phenomenal to watch.
Regardless of what happens with during the playoffs, because again, with the Vikings, if you put them on the power rankings to win the Super Bowl, I think on most people's list, they're behind the Lions, they're behind the Chiefs, they're behind the Bills, they're behind the Eagles. But again, they're behind the Steelers, I would say, probably, but or right there with the Steelers. And yet, all they do every week is Sam Darnold comes out, does 5 touchdown performances, 4 touchdown performances, and he's not managing the games. He's going out there and legitimately winning the games for the Minnesota Vikings, which before the season was, we just need him not to lose us games. And instead, that flipped the script. And now he's, again, one of the best quarterbacks in the NFC, in the AFC, and the NFL right now. And I've liked this Vikings team since the beginning, and he was the one question mark. Well, there's no longer a question. The
There's
question
just
now
exclamation
becomes,
points.
yeah, the question now becomes, what do they do in the offseason, regardless of what happens in the playoffs?
It's
Because
you got to
this is a
keep
guy
him.
you got to resign.
That you have to sign again. I just said it. That connection that he has with those two receivers,
Yeah.
you keep it. You keep it. That's something special that you know people try to get. You see Devontae Adams going to Aaron Rodgers because he likes playing with Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
There's a connection there,
That's a good point.
you
Yeah.
know. So whatever they're doing over there, whatever those three pretty much are doing in practices, keep it up, man.
Yeah. And so that is
Bluetooth,
my
whatever they're doing on the field, I don't know.
that is my 10-3. Here is Casino's 10-3 right here. And now it comes to our number 2 casino, which your number 2 is, I mean, we're going through the Arizona desert. So the best way is with an eagle flying because he's flying high
Yep.
above. This is your number 2.
Yep. And I think this week really justifies why they should be at 2 and not 1 for me. Is they struggled against the Panthers, who are only a 3-win team, but they still won. Barkley still put up numbers. There was still no turnovers by Jalen Hurts. All these things that we have worries about the Eagles, they didn't do, but the Panthers just played a really good game and kept it close. And they were, again, one drive away from losing that game, and they were able to stop it. So I have them at 2, rightfully so. They're great. They're a great team. I would not want to play them if I was any other team in the league. That's where I'm leaving it.
They're also my number 2 casino because again, I am fair. I am justified
I
in
finally got to them, folks.
yeah, but oh no. What is happening? What is happening? Oh no, it's the Eagles and Chiefs at number 2 casino. I have them both at number 2. The Eagles flying through the air, the beautiful Arizona sky, but he's being attacked by, again, the Chiefs are the devil. So our representation of the devil is her who shall not be named. And she is making an appearance at number 2. I have the Eagles and Chiefs. I'm telling you, there is something in my gut that says this is the Super Bowl this year. It happened last year where everybody was like, the only Super Bowl matchup we don't want is one we've seen before, and that happened. This year, all the hype is behind Lions Bills, it's a Super Bowl preview. Maybe the Ravens get in there, maybe the Vikings get in there. It is going to be a rematch between the Eagles and Chiefs. I can see it happening. I've seen it in a dream. It's happening, Casino. Now, the only difference is I think the Eagles win against this
Oh, yeah.
Chiefs team.
Again,
But
I totally agree.
and
Totally
again,
agree.
we can only disregard the Chiefs for so long before we say, yes, they keep winning these close games, but every close game they have, they win and they're 11-1. We can only for so long be like, that's not happening. That's not happening. And then it happens. And yeah, they're 11-1.
Again, you could have put them at 4 for me, but it's just fuck, man.
I know. And then obviously our number 1 with the Arizona flag. Both our number 1s are the Detroit Lions because again, they played the toughest opponent of the 3-4 teams that are in here and they won. So by the fairness of the power rankings for heading into week 15, the Lions have to be number one.
Dude,
That was a great
to me,
game
is
against the
so
Packers. Yeah.
watching it and the
Yep.
coaching, yes, we know Dan Campbell's an aggressive coach and he's going to go for those kind of things, but
Most of the time it works. That's why he goes for it.
the
Yeah.
execution on those, he was 4 for 5. And yeah, the one people were knocking and like, oh, well, he tried it on their own 30-yard line and then it cost him a score. Yeah, well, guess what? He did it twice on the on the 1-yard line and he got both of those touchdowns. So you're a
Yeah.
touchdown up on that. Like, go fuck yourself.
And again, the pass rush isn't there, but the pass coverage is. So when they get more guys off the IR, when it shores up the defensive line, when they're able to get pressure
Yeah,
on the quarterback, they already
that's the
have the back
thing.
half of the
That's the
defense.
thing. My coworker who's a Bears fan, he was talking about it, and he just exactly what you're saying. You're hitting it with the T. Like they're doing this with a depleted defense. Like
Yeah.
we have a Packers fan, regular that always comes in, and he was like, "Yeah, my team. They went toe to toe with the Lions on the road. That makes me really happy. It makes me feel good about my team." And immediately, my buddy, obviously being a Bears fan, he wants to talk shit about a Packers fan. He goes, "Yeah, they did that to the Lions that have no defense
Yeah,
players.
exactly.
Like
Yeah. Which was the
so."
entire point I made last week, which is just like even when Jordan Love had what felt like unlimited time in the pocket, it's not like he was picking apart the Detroit defense. He wasn't. And again, that was credit to the Lions. But there you have it. That is the Only Sports Podcast Power Rankings for Week 15 Casino.
Yeah,
I had so many doubles, and I think I'm just gonna keep doing that because
I
I
hate
know
it.
it annoys you.
Yep.
But
It annoys everybody. Please comment and just tell them how bad that is. You can't call it a top 10. It's the worst.
I mean,
Um,
technically mine was a top, what, 13
yeah.
this week? So,
So I gotta go. My daughter, I think my son is
yeah,
over my daughter's princess performance that she's putting on for him right now as he's in the crib, just probably staring at her.
yeah, this has been the Only Sports Podcast. I'm Will, that's Casino. We'll see you on Thursday. Clips of this show will be uploaded tomorrow on Wednesday. More clips for Thursday show on Friday. Follow us on TikTok. Go like, comment, subscribe on YouTube. Go get us wherever you get your podcast. And
Yep.
yeah,
Tell your friends. Tell your friends.
there you go. I'm Will, that's Casino. Adios.